So after yesterday, my name's Tim Rietenbach. I work here at CCAD. After yesterday, I felt fairly emasculated by the quality of the presentations, and I drank too much, and I went home and I changed my first slide. I don't even know what it meant. And then I realized also there's a lot of people here from California, so my apologies to all of you guys. The class that I've taught is an honors class here at Columbus College of Art and Design. I'm a fine arts faculty. I was probably the only person that was kind of willing to try to take it on, and I'm not very qualified to do it. So the learning curve was very dramatic for me, but I've enjoyed every minute of it, primarily because I've been working with a small group of honors students that are sort of self-motivated, and I mentioned earlier in our roundtable lunch that empathy was not a problem with this group. I actually kind of, when I hear somebody talking about having to teach empathy, I just don't even, it doesn't even register because they were so much in that zone. The community that we were to engage is Franklinton. It's the original settlement for the city. It's across the river. If you haven't been across the river, I recommend you just go there just to see what they've done to our river. It's like a ridiculous construction project right now where they're building out all the land masses to shrink it. But anyways, this community was devastated by a major flood in 1913 and to some extent has never recovered from that. And so there are areas in the neighborhoods that are filled with abandoned houses. There's over 500 abandoned houses within an area that has maybe only 5,000 houses. So it's palpable when you travel through the neighborhood that there's emptiness. And then they have a sense of humor about it, apparently, because, 2 weeks ago when I went with a camera, they actually can joke about an abandoned house. We took this very inconspicuous approach to traveling through the neighborhood. It's kind of like being in a UFO. But that's how we started out the class. We just went directly there, first day. Not very much in place, more for the students to kind of figure this out. Julie Taggart and I, the Dean of Studio, sat down with a local design firm, Neighborhood Design Center, and kind of hashed out some basics that this was the target area for us, but otherwise, no projects, no budgets, no anything in place. And so basically it was on the students to kind of sort it out. This is West Franklinton and South Franklinton combined. And you can see it looks like it's kind of a leftover space. There's no real logic to its shape, aside from the fact that the river defines it on one edge. The reason it's that shape is primarily due to things that are really problematic, and one is the freeway system, which I know we all have some issues with that in urban centers, but this particular area really seems to be very severed by it, along with a pretty elaborate railroad system, which also does the same thing, where it just totally disconnects areas. And then a main drag, which is the main drag that's just out this way, Broad Street, that is broad. So it becomes a very big channel through that space as well, disconnecting those neighborhoods. There's a burgeoning local arts district that is really built some momentum and is likely to grow and prosper there. And then there's a hospital that becomes a campus and an area that's really obviously a service to the neighborhood, but very disconnected disconnects a lot of the areas as well. And then there's a lot of small industrial activity throughout the rest of those areas. So basically, you have what seems like, at a minimum, 6 different areas in that one little neighborhood. And everything seems to be very difficult to imagine them as one community. Alongside that, we have East Franklinton, which is poised to become like the new growth of the downtown, a cultural center. And so all the focus and emphasis is really from the city is on that particular area right now. And this is just a schematic of what they're considering doing there. Currently, we have COSA, our Center of Science and Industry, in that space, which is in the center there. This is the projection of what the landscape is going to be around the river. Currently, it looks like a scene from the Flintstones, where he's in a quarry. Alongside with what is happening with East Franklinton, the momentum and projection for what's going to happen in this section just west of it is also, which the purple there is that arts district that I was referring to earlier, and then Broad Street becomes this very densely populated, gentrified area. One thing good about abandonment, when they take buildings down, there's often vacant lots, and there's a very active green garden movement in that area that brings some life to it. But you can see just beyond that garden, there's a building in shambles. And that sense of abandonment is really pretty dramatic. And obviously, whenever you have a neighborhood like that, you have homesteaders and families and small kids. So this is what we found out on our tour. I mean, we were just basically, driving around like we're in a UFO, looking at poor people, and trying to figure out like what the answer to this question would be. And so I didn't have any kind of prescribed notion of what that would be, and so I left it up to the students to kind of answer it. And one student came up with a proposal when we were sitting around the table with the health department, EDGE group, city planning group, collective, and faculty and the guy from design, neighborhood design. He proposed that we make a community flag that somehow tried to connect all those different neighborhoods to each other. Part of the reasoning was that the perception of danger is a big impediment to like helping clean up these neighborhoods. That the people that live there don't feel the same about the level of danger as the visitor might. So it prevents people from coming in. Well, these are all the different people we kind of partnered with and met with and did throughout this first semester. Also, this class has been going on for 2 semesters. We're sort of in the middle of it. The proposal was to create a community flag, but we were outsiders in that UFO, so we figured we better figure out a way to engage the community beyond just the infrastructure of the community. So one of the students designed this little coloring book page, and we sent it out to different locations, libraries, elementary schools, community centers, and had them, work with the kids to develop plans. And so now I'm going to show you, who's one of the participants, just a host of the plans that came by. That's the one he made. He was working on there, and he thought that his neighborhood was about liberty, so he started drawing the hand of the Statue of Liberty. It's a pretty awesomely articulated hand for a young kid. First settlement, but I like this one because it looks like it's number 1, and A lot of pictorial stuff, which is great. It's really fun, but not very pragmatic for a flag, but we took it serious anyways. So there's some lethargic flowers. This was too true. I mean, really hit the nail on the head right there. That's the neighborhood. More of an emotional response, but I would love to see a flag like that, to be honest. This was just hysterical, big stop sign in the middle of nowhere. It's like, where was he living? I don't know. Or she? Eduardo, no, she. And this just got weird. It's kind of erotic, kind of trans stuff going on there, and then the clouds seem to be extremely aware of what's going on because they're... This is really kind of profound because it's like a flood, you know, but it's like the clouds are raining square, cubed rain. And, you know, Barnett Newman, a young Barnett Newman, but also possibly a flood reference. Look at the pole, it's pretty good. So then there were a series of Fs, and we thought, maybe it's because we're in a school, we thought, F on a flag in a bad neighborhood, it might not be good. So and the Fs got weird. It's like, what's up with that F? And what's up with this F? The Fs are turning around and doing all kinds of stuff. I don't even know. One of them's walking off. Yeah, and then, so we transitioned from like Fs to friends and kind of a sense of community. So that started to show up everywhere. I'm not sure what's going on in the background, but you know, the rest of them are friends. Yeah. Looks like somebody's getting in trouble. So a lot of those kind of stick figure things. Then there's like this equation that we've never been able to figure out, like 6 times 5 equals bird and hot dog. Occasionally had an adult, you know, come in, and this is like Sullivan is the guy that founded the neighborhood. It's a little strange too, in terms of an image. And then I don't know what's going on here, but it seems a little pervy to all of us. And like, why is that little kid not shaved? You know? And then this is like a really great sentiment, but by adding that blue over top of that yellow, they reduced Franklinton to Ranklinton, which kind of seemed a problem. And this one, I think, is just kind of stellar. And I wish ours was as interesting, our proposals were as interesting as this one was. We took the collection back to their community center. There was an event there, and we just put it up in a way that, obviously it's not a white cube space, so we really couldn't make it into like an art show, but we kind of, and it was only for one evening, so we put the collection together. Then a woman from the Franklinton Arts District group asked for the collection, and they're going to, you know, use them through the community. So I have an the class is a mixture of all kinds of majors, and an illustration student kind of took on like trying to translate some of those ideas into thumbnails for possible ideas of flags. And then they kind of transitioned into kind of computer sketches. One of the things that was really critical for us as the outsiders in the UFO is that we didn't want to make this stuff for them. We wanted to somehow make a local manufacturer, a fabricator, be connected to it. We couldn't find anybody in Franklinton proper, but we have an alumni that runs a screen printing shop just a little ways away who had a lot of connections to the community of Franklinton, and he offered to be that fabricator. This is the sort of hybrid of some of the sketches that we kind of settled in on as sort of like our favorite right now, but it's still up in the air because we wrote grant proposals, but none of them actually asked for prototypes or examples of the art. They really just want to know whether it's money well spent for a community. And it's a funny argument to make because, you know, this is the neighborhood, and, you know, food stamps for fresh fruit or fresh vegetables, you know, maybe that's not money well spent. So we'll see how that goes. So we've written for about 8 different grants. Each student got involved in writing for grants. So 2 classes. The first class was on your left. Yeah. And the second class is a little bit bigger. And a couple of characters went through both of them. Some people graduated. It's problematic. It's to that same conversation about how do you do that with the structure of a semester and so on. I thought I'd just create symmetry. Thank you.